Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. It doesn't have a name yet. Today I'm going to be doing my Tis the Damn Readathon TBR video. This is my first booktube video, maybe my only one. I'm doing it to surprise my sister. Shh. Okay, so if you don't know, the Tis the Damn Readathon is a Taylor Swift themed readathon for the entire month of March. Am I a Taylor Swift fan? Yes, I am. Because my sister told me I had to be. I guess she thinks she's the boss of me. She's not even the oldest. Honestly, I'm really happy about it. I love Taylor. It's great. There are several prompts based on Taylor's albums. So every one of Taylor Swift's albums has at least 2 prompts for books that you can read. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick a book for each prompt, and then we're just going to see what I end up reading. I'm definitely not going to read all of these. I don't have the time, but I'm going to try to pick from this pile of books here. So let's get started, shall we? So the Tis the Damn Readathon is hosted by a million people, one of whom is my sister. I will link her channel down below. And you can find out more videos about the readathon by just Googling or searching for the hashtag. But basically, there are prompts for every single album that Taylor has made. So the first one is her self-titled debut album, Taylor Swift. And the prompts for this are, number 1, you can read a memoir, or you can read a book about music. Okay, so I have a great option for the memoir. I actually have the audiobook on Libro FM, and the title of the book is You'll Never Believe What Happened to Lacey by Amber Ruffin and Lacey Lamar. Amber Ruffin is a comedian and she hosts a talk show and she's hilarious, and Lacey Lamar is her sister. And this book is a collection of essays of crazy racist things that they have experienced in their life. I've heard it's a really great listen, so I'm excited to read that. So the next prompt is a book about music. So for this one, I've selected Grown by Tiffany Jackson. I've had this on my shelf since September. My friend Kelly gave this to me for my birthday, and I'm really excited to read it. It is about a young woman who is an aspiring singer, and she ends up becoming a protege, I think, of this really famous R&B star who ends up being a very nefarious character and doing some pretty awful things. And then he ends up dead, and so there's a mystery. So it definitely sounds really hard-hitting, and like there will be some tough subjects, but I've been told that it is just an amazing read. Okay, so the next album is Fearless. So for this one, the first prompt is a book that intimidates me. So for this one, I've chosen a book of poetry. And now everything's out of order. So for this prompt, I have selected Mind Platter by Najwa Zebian. And this is a collection of poems. I don't normally read poetry, but I was recommended this book by my friend Carrie. She said it's amazing, and she just said she likes to read a poem a day. So I'm going to try kind of getting outside of my comfort zone. So the next prompt for the Fearless album is tied to the song 15, which is one of Taylor Swift's most famous songs. So this prompt says, read a YA book. I have a lot of YA on my list already. I've chosen one specifically. This was another book that I got for my birthday last year that I still haven't read yet. So this is Don't Date Rosa Santos by Nina Moreno. I don't know a ton about this book yet, but it was given to me as a gift. It looks really fun. It looks like it's a contemporary romance, YA, coming-of-age story. So I think this will be a cute, light, fun read, and I'm excited to get to it. The next album on our Tis the Damn Readathon is Speak Now. So the first prompt is to read the 3rd book in a series. This one's easy because I have been reading the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin, and I have yet to read The Stone Sky, which is the 3rd and final book in that trilogy. So I don't have it yet. I need to order it or get it from the library. I'll put the cover here, but I love that series. The Obelisk's Gate was so amazing, so I really just need to get to the 3rd one and finish the series. The second prompt is listen to an audiobook. I'm thinking I will use the Amber Ruffin book for this prompt as well, because I don't think that I'm going to have time to get to every single prompt. That's not happening. So more than likely that will be, if I do this prompt for this album, that will be my option. And then the third prompt for Speak Now is for the song If This Were a Movie, and that's to read a book with a movie adaptation. So for this prompt, I am selecting Normal People by Sally Rooney. This was made into, I don't know if it was Netflix or Hulu, but it was made into a TV show. And I've had this on my shelf for a long time, so I just need to get to it. So I'm putting it on, hoping that eventually this month, hopefully I will read it. It's gotten a lot of great reviews, so we'll see. So the next album is Red, which is one of my favorite Taylor Swift albums. And the first prompt for the Red album is read a book with red on the cover. So for this one, I'm so excited. I'm going to read Concrete Rose by Angie Thomas. So if you're watching BookTube, you know who Angie Thomas is. She wrote The Hate U Give, and this book is the prequel to that book. So this is Maverick's story, who is, Maverick is Star's father, and this is a book about him coming of age, becoming a father. He is involved in a gang, and then he gets out of that, and it's just about what he goes through and his story. And he was one of my favorite characters in The Hate U Give, so I'm really excited to read this. Also, my friends who have already read this say this is her best one yet, so, and that's really hard to believe because her other books are incredible. So I think I'm gonna start with this one. I can't wait. Another prompt for the Red album is tied to the song Begin Again, and that is to read a book that you've previously DNF'd. So I'm probably going to read Concrete Rose to finish this prompt, but just in case, my backup is Bringing Down the Duke by Evie Dunmore. I have it on my Kindle, and I started it and I couldn't get into it, so I did DNF it, but I would like to finish it because I have the sequel on my shelf, and someone told me that the sequel's even better than the first one, so I'm thinking if I can at least get through the first one, then I can read the sequel. So we'll see. It's a backup. Our next album is 1989. So the first prompt for this book is read a book with a number in the title. And so for this one, I've chosen 800 Grapes by Laura Dave. So this is a book that my friend Kelly loaned to me a long time ago, and I still haven't read it. It's contemporary fiction, I believe, maybe a romance, I'm not quite sure. It's about a woman who is engaged, and then she learns a secret about her fiance, and ends up calling off the engagement and then going back to her family's home. They live on a vineyard, and there are all kinds of secrets. So I don't know, Kelly really recommended it, and she usually recommends really good books, so I think it's time to read this one. The next prompt for 1989 is read a book with a morally gray character. This one was tough because how do you know if the character's morally gray until you've read it? But I do know that the book White Ivy by Susie Yang, which I do have on my shelf, I do know that the main character in this book is maybe kind of an anti-hero, so I think that this would definitely fit this prompt. I don't know much about it other than she is a girl who goes to a fancy private school and then later meets up with some kids that she went to school with, and she's not really upfront about who she is, but you're kind of rooting for her anyway, so we'll see. I'm intrigued. The next album is Reputation. So the first prompt here is read a book with a romance, but in another genre. So this one's kind of hard as well, I think, because how do you know if something has a romance if that's not the genre? Make it make sense. So I think, though, I'm going to read The Secret Lives of Church Ladies by Disha Pilya. This is a collection of short stories, and it's one of the most talked about short story collections that was published last year. I think it's a finalist for the Story Prize. And I do know that some of the stories have to do with love, or people being in love, or unrequited love. So I don't know if this really counts, but I'm going to count it because I really want to read it. Okay, so the second prompt for Reputation is Look What You Made Me Do, which is a book that a friend recommended you. So for this one, I have selected The Topeka School by Ben Lerner. This was recommended to me by my coworker, Trevor, and I've actually had it since December. I got it in our yearly office book swap, and he said it was great. I know it's about a boy whose parents are both therapists, and it seems like kind of like a coming of age story. So I don't really know much about it, but I definitely want to read it, especially because it was recommended to me, and it's one of the New York Times 10 best books of the year. So sounds pretty good. Okay, so the next album is Lover. So the first prompt for this is read a book that you predict you will rate 5 stars. Again, that's hard to know, but I do know that I will be reading Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro, which is coming out in early March. So I don't have a copy yet, but I will be getting it soon. We're actually reading this for our podcast, which I will link down below. I host a podcast with my sister and Kelly. And this book, I know I'm going to love it because I've loved every other book by Kazuo Ishiguro, and I've already seen some reviews of this one that just make it sound absolutely amazing. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to rate it 5 stars. The next prompt for Lover is tied to the song Forgot You Existed, and it's the book that you've had on your TBR the longest. This was hard because I have a lot of books that have been on my shelf for a really long time that I haven't read yet. But this book, I just spit. Okay, but I think I'm going to pick this book. It's Hunted by Megan Spooner. I got this book from Kelly. She was doing an unhaul, and I picked it up because it's a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I love retellings, especially of that story. So if I don't read it this month, I think I'm just going to give it away because I've had it for so long, so now or never. And that book could also fit the next prompt. So the next album is Folklore, and the first prompt is to read a retelling. So I could read Hunted, but I also have A Blade So Black by L.L. McKinney on my Kindle, and I'll put a cover here. But I think I'm going to read that one. That is I think a modern retelling of Alice in Wonderland, but also / Buffy the Vampire Slayer. It sounds really cool, and my sister got it for me for my birthday in September, so I really need to get to it. The next prompt for Folklore is Exile, a book with 2 authors. So for this prompt, I'm going to choose Watch Us Rise by Renee Watson and Ellen Hogan. And this is about 2 girls who start a women's group or a feminist group at their school because they're just sick of how girls are being treated in school. And so they start this group, they start getting a lot of attention, they start getting trolls coming after them, and it's just what they go through. So I have an arc of this that a friend loaned me, and I haven't gotten to it yet, but I do know that I will love this book, so this is on my list. So the last album is Evermore. So one of the prompts for Evermore is tied to the song No Body, No Crime. And that says to read a mystery or a thriller. And so for this one, I have Sanctuary by V.V. James. And this one sounds really good. A young man is killed at a high school party, and they blame it on this girl who they say is a witch. I've heard it's really good, and I am excited for this one. And then the second prompt for the Evermore challenge is surprise yourself with a book. So you can either close your eyes and pick a book off your shelf, or you can number them. So what I'm going to do, because I obviously cannot get to all these books this month, there's just no way, I have a job. So what I'm going to do is anything that I don't get to at the end of the month, I'm going to put them all on a shelf, and I'm just going to close my eyes. I'm going to pick one, or I'll have my boyfriend pick one for me. So that way they all get a chance. So that's my loose plan for the Taylor Swift themed Tis the Damn Readathon. Who knows if I will stick to this list, but I think I have enough options that I'll be able to pick something for each prompt and hopefully get the full bingo board. Again, if you want to know the exact rules of the readathon, I will link their videos down below. And I think it's going to be fun to have an entire month all about Taylor Swift. So I hope if you're participating, let me know what you're reading down below. And yeah, I will maybe make another video. Probably not.